Apologetics. You know what I'm saying?
I got you.
Showing black dignity with gospel. What up, y'all? It's your hometown hero, the real Adam Coleman, right here with BK Apologists and DU. Y'all know what it is, man. Tru-ID Apologetics. We here one more again. And how y'all feeling, man? How y'all doing?
We're here, man. We're chilling. About to talk about some very interesting and disturbing topics. So
interesting and disturbing. I think that if you were to have the person we're going to talk about primarily your boy Diddy, you know what I'm saying? If you have his face in the dictionary, I think interesting and disturbing would be. He could be next to either of those words in the dictionary. Man. That's a wild dude. That's a wild dude.
Yeah.
You got to claim him though. He's from New York though. BK. Like I mean, he's from your city, man.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I can't fight it. I mean, I don't personally claim him. I don't stand next to this dude.
That's the Harlem Shake.
Listen,
I just did the worst Harlem Shake ever.
Listen. Everybody's '90s R&B playlist just took a hit. Right, so
that's a fact.
So leave me alone. I mean, everybody's '90s R&B playlist just took a massive hit, but
still getting tweets apparently. But
yeah, so I mean, I guess I can't imagine anybody doesn't know what's going on with your boy. Was it Brother Love, aka Diddy, aka Puff Daddy? Apparently he is I guess been arrested and charged. Well, at this point, I don't even know he's been charged with, man. He got so many charges.
Well, let me put you on the game here. So it says here, this is
racketeering is one.
According to the indictment, right? It says here, from at least 2008 through the present, Combs led a criminal enterprise that existed to facilitate his abuse and exploitation of women, to protect his reputation, and to conceal his conduct. As part of the criminal enterprise, Combs, along with other members and associates of the enterprise, committed crimes including sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice.
Oh, my bad. I misspoke. I said racketeering. My bad. No disrespect.
Oh, no, that's right. Oh, no, he was an overachiever, apparently.
That's another charge. Yeah, he's overachiever. And as of 4:32 p.m., a new lawsuit says Sean Diddy Combs has been hit with yet another sexual abuse lawsuit. The latest filing against the 54-year-old artist and record exec alleges Combs drugged, assaulted, coerced, and threatened an unnamed victim over the course of 2 years, with their encounters resulting in a pregnancy and miscarriage.
Oh my gosh, man.
So yeah,
he was tripping.
Man.
Yep. It's just so wild, man, because I think that again, I'm an 80s baby, 80s and 90s. Like 90s definitely was my era, hip hop wise. I wasn't a Bad Boy fan, just because I was more so on like kind of backpacker hip hop, and I viewed Bad Boy as being like commercial.
The Antichrist of the backpackers.
You said what?
He was the Antichrist of backpack hip hop.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I definitely wasn't a fan. You know what I mean? But of course, there's a couple joints that a hit is a hit.
Right.
So like you said, anybody who's got that '90s playlist, definitely just took an L somewhere or another. But it's just so crazy, man. I think just with hip hop in general, to see people from that era to have lived into like the social media age where things are being exposed, just the information age period, where things can be exposed and all that, is just like in his case particularly. He's definitely kept catching the jagged edge of that. You know what I mean? It's
pun intended.
You caught that, right? You caught that, right?
Yes, I did.
So it's rough out here, man, in these Diddy streets, man. What are you guys' thoughts, man? What are your thoughts, Dinu?
Well, I think that I have many thoughts, but I think one that kind of stays to the forefront of my mind is that, he has affected so many. I guess we have to say, are we saying allegedly right now, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, everybody is offered due process, right? Yeah. So he's innocent to proven guilty. So these are the charges brought to him. So
yeah,
allegedly, reportedly, yeah.
Sure. So allegedly, he has affected so many lives, and like it's far reaching, and it's just hard to believe that that it has been going on allegedly for years, and it's just coming out now. Like there was no cracks in, the ruse. No one. I've read some stories that people tried to say some things here and there, but it got shut down. But now it's just like you have a floodgate of people starting to say things and to, make reference to the things that would happen at the Diddy parties. And of course you have like some of some footage that's being leaked now. But I mean, that footage wasn't just generated within the last 2 weeks. That footage is from years ago.
Yep.
Right.
And so it's just really, it's fascinating, it's heartbreaking, it's interesting, it's troubling that this has gone on allegedly for so very long, and it's only coming to the light now. But I guess that also speaks to what you just mentioned, Adam, in terms of social media. So maybe that's part of it as well. So
Yeah. I mean, I think that, on the one hand, I mean, I don't know if I've said it. I mean, I know I've said it on other shows before. Like, I think that hip hop, I love hip hop as a genre. You know what I'm saying? Like, for sure. I mean, I love hip hop as far as the culture, as far as, rap specifically in terms of the genre of music. I mean, that's what I grew up on. Nevertheless, I do believe that hip hop in its music has been weaponized against communities of color for a long time. You know what I mean? And part of that weaponization from just about the beginning has been the sexualization and over sexualization of women, the exploitation of women. I mean, Lord knows. I mean, there was a reason why growing up in a Christian household, I wasn't allowed to watch BET after a certain time. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason why. You know what I mean? And so because it's the way that women have been depicted in our music videos and so forth, and whatever. So it's not surprising then that from that milieu that you see this kind of behavior, these kind of behaviors, these kinds of scandals, coming to the forefront. Unfortunately, on the one hand, it's not surprising that Puff Daddy appeared. Well, all right, I know it's still alleged, so let me be careful how I say this. It's not surprising that these things would come to the surface, but at the same time, like, what does that say about the culture as a whole, though? Like, I mean, haven't we kind of been applauding this behavior? Like, I mean, hasn't like, if you just listen to the lyrics of like Big Pun, I'm not a player but I crush a lot, or anything from that era, having to do with females, like, I mean, is this really surprising? That there would be people who would actually live it out, in this kind of a way? I don't think it's surprising. It's terrible. But what do you think happens when you program a generation to think this way about women, to objectify them, right? This is what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right. It's to your point. It's garbage in, garbage out, right? It's in Galatians 6 verse 8, it says, "For the one who sows to his own flesh will from the flesh reap corruption, but the one who sows to the Spirit from the Spirit reaps eternal life."
Right.
So the things that you put in you is what is going to come out from you eventually. And to quote Abraham Lincoln, he says, if you want to know the content of someone's character, give them success, and they will show you who they really are. Success is actually the downfall of many people, because they don't have the necessary tools or the training to deal with greatness and success.
Right.
So because of the evil programming they had already in them, it was already there. Like Diddy, and other people allegedly already had these things in them.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So now what happens is the success now finances the wickedness. They didn't have a machine that helped to advance the wickedness, but the wickedness was always there.
Right. I mean, it's like the scripture says, like, the heart of man is desperately wicked.
Right.
You know it. I mean, the fact of the matter is, most people don't have the means to act on every evil impulse that they have.
Yep.
So it's like, even if they wanted to do something, they may just not have the means to do it. But if you've got, money, power, maybe you even instilled fear in a certain group of people to where they won't report on you. I mean, you basically create for yourself an environment where you can pretty much do what you want to do. You'll find out really quick who you really are.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, I don't know Diddy's upbringing or his life story or whatever, but I do think that many artists who have flourished in the hip hop community, they come from some broken homes and broken neighborhoods, right? If you're used to if you're used to an environment where you're seeing dope fiends and drive-bys and all kind of craziness going on, and you come into the game with that kind of trauma, what do you think you're going to produce? You're going to reproduce who you are.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you're going to become, you're going to basically amplify all of that brokenness through your music and through your lifestyle. And so this is what happens.
Mm-hmm.
This is what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think it's really unfortunate, and I think one thing that's definitely distinctive about this age that we're in is that I don't care how serious the matter is, if you messing up out there, the internet world, social media world, they're gonna kill you with some memes. Like you can't escape.
Oh, the memes have been nuts,
brutal,
man.
They are brutal out here, man. It's rough. But rough.
Also, right? I mean, power corrupts not only in the field of entertainment, but also in politics as well. Okay. Because we also, what just happened in New York, our mayor Eric Adams has been hit with federal charges as well for wire fraud and bribery. Right?
We just got to stay out of New York. That's what I'm.
Yeah, New York is bad.
Right New York is not.
It's bad. It's bad. It's
man.
Really bad. Allegedly. It's really bad.
We might need to do a background check on you, BK, before our next show, man. Before our next show, we might need to do a background check on you, dog.
Oh, wow. You're going to vet me? All right.
NY is looking bad out here, bro. I can't be associated with no craziness, man.
But this reminds me, if this is true, if the charges are true, then this would I think is apropos. Isaiah 1 verse 23. Your princes are rebellious and companions of thieves. Everyone loves bribes and follow after rewards. They do not defend the fatherless, nor does the cause of the video of the widow come before them. So like this is what we see in the landscape. Is like when those are far from God, and those people who are far from God are given authority and power. Most of the times, it's not for the benefit of mankind.
Right.
You know what I mean? So.
Right. No, that's good, man. That's a good point. Well, I mean, but let's talk about this though, because I mean, if we keeping it a buck, I mean, as crazy as this Diddy situation is, it's not always the case that somebody outside the faith has some public blunder. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, I guess somebody, maybe some of my watchers, our watchers out there who, they might be unbelievers. I mean, not everybody that watches the channel is a believer.
Right.
They might be like, oh, cool. It's easy to pick on somebody, like a Diddy who's outside the faith. But what about y'all Christians? What about y'all? I mean, I think, when you have people where there's allegations, or sometimes if it's substantiated, some falls from grace, if you will, a pastor, let's say, I mean, that can shake people's faith, right? I mean, like that can have some real deep implications, whereas, with Diddy, I can't necessarily say it hits close to home, but for believers, something like, a pastor messing up, that can rattle some people, man. Like, how do we deal with that? How do we navigate that?
And unfortunately, that happens, quite frequently, and yeah, I mean, but again, right? It's about where does your faith lie in, right? Where is your faith anchored in? It's not supposed to be anchored for these pastors and reverends and ministers. Now, it's true that they help us, they shepherd us, they supposed to inspire and equip us, but they're humans too. They're going to fail because they're sinners as well, right? So, and even with that understanding, it still hurts, especially if you're close to these leaders in the faith, right? But if your faith is in Yahweh and not in man, the Bible talks about do not put your trust in princes,
Right.
right? So as long as you're doing that, when these things happen, and they will happen, it's never going to stop. You won't be as devastated. It's going to hurt,
Sure.
especially if the leader in question is somebody that you actually know. It's going to hurt,
of course,
but not to the point where you now feel like you need to deconstruct your faith, and now your hope in the Lord has been shattered. Like, that's not going to happen if your faith has always been in God and not in man.
Right.
So I feel like that's the thing that prevents us from dealing with quote unquote church hurt.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
you know what I mean. So
yeah, and I think too, this might be a factor as well. Sometimes it's so easy for us to, when you're, constantly or regularly, for example, following someone online or checking out their videos, or you have all of their books, you've been following them, you kind of can be under this impression that the person, right? It's very easy to, even in, like the Hollywood world or celebrity, it's very easy to think that we know these people because we're involved in their lives, but from a distance. And so when things like this happen, we kind of take it more personally because we thought we knew them.
Yeah.
Right? But, just because you, for example, interact with people on threads, or just because you've seen people regularly, doesn't necessarily mean that you know people, right? And so I think that's something to keep in mind as well. I mean, I hope that this isn't a dismal statement, but the truth is that, when we're not connected directly with people, but we're watching them, they're a part of our daily lives, if you will. It doesn't mean that we know them, right?
Yeah.
And so that might be something that perhaps could help with this sting. Perhaps could help with this sting. We don't know them. We don't know them. We know the online them. We know the video them, but we don't truly know them. So
that's a fact. That's a fact. That's good. And I think that what we need to do, I think, is just take a more biblical approach to our, quote unquote heroes or people that we hold in high esteem. If you look in the scriptures from Genesis to Revelation, like everybody's jacked up other than Jesus, right? And the scriptures are very honest about everybody being jacked up. Abraham, he's having kids with Hagar, and he's doing it. He's lying to preserve his life, and Moses is out here wilding. Literally Moses has the whole burning bush experience and is heading back to Egypt for, to go save the Israelites or whatever. And, God almost takes him out because, Moses disobeyed him in regard to the circumcision. If it wasn't for his wife, Zipporah stepping in, Moses, it would have been a wrap. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and that was, he knew God, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He strikes the rock, doesn't make it into the promised land. All of these heroes, David, we already know what type of time he was on.
Yeah.
When you think about it, David, like, this man committed murder and adultery all like in the same swoop,
Yep.
Like, this cat, like, he's just like, I'm just gonna just tackle the worst sins off top
and negligence of his kingly duties. That's how everything started.
Yeah,
because in the summertime when kings go to war, he wasn't there. He was supposed to be.
He was lounging. He was at the crib.
He was lounging.
Right. So he was just wilding out. You know what I mean? And so, anyway, I just said that to say, like, there's, or even in the New Testament, for example, if you just read the Gospels, the disciples are not really depicted as like these, noble, do no wrong type followers. I mean, Peter, he's denying Christ and cussing.
Jesus calls Peter Satan.
They call him, right? Yeah, they scatter when they pop off, they dip out. You know what I mean? Like, even after the resurrection, I'm thinking about, think about Peter, for example, right? This man walked with Jesus. All right. Now, this Johnny come lately, the Apostle Paul sees a vision, and he's an apostle now, right? And then Peter's wilding out because he's not, he's trying to usher Gentile believers out of the back door because he didn't want to be seen with Gentiles. And then Paul steps to him in person, like, yo, it's like to his face.
Yep.
Like, dog, you dead wrong for that. And then not only does Paul step to him, he then puts it in writing in his letters and tells people about it
For posterity. So thousands of years later, we know that
thousands of years we can still read.
He caught Peter slipping.
He caught him slipping. You know what I'm saying? It's like Peter could be, dog, you wasn't even here. You wasn't even rocking with us like that when we was really in them trenches. Right, how are you gonna come like all late?
Right,
you know what I mean? But anyway, I said all that to say is like, everybody in the scriptures is on the chopping block. You know what I mean? Everybody is clear that I don't care who the hero is or what great acts of faith that they're described as performing. Like they're, Samson, it can be anybody. They're all on the chopping block. We're all broken and fallen one way or the other.
Yep.
The only person that's not true about is Jesus Christ in terms of inherently having that goodness that he lives out, right? Just of his own. You know what I mean? Jesus is the glaring example. It's like his perfection in that his moral perfection is like a neon sign in the scriptures saying there's something different about this guy, right? There's something special about this person, Jesus, that's not like any of these other flawed figures that we've depicted here. You know what I mean? And so I think that we have to have that mentality. We have to realize, like, I don't care who it is. You know what I'm saying? I like how you put it, Dino. I don't care how many videos they put out. I don't care how many speaking engagements you see them do. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the only hero really is Jesus.
Yeah.
That's the only one who's truly worthy of our highest esteem. And everybody else we have to hold at a different regard. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can be disappointed. We can be here. I understand that. But like, our faith is not in these people.
Yeah.
Right.
It's in an unflawed, perfect, unfailing Christ. That's where our hope ought to be.
Yeah, that's good.
Proverbs 3, starting in verse 5 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight.
Yeah. So that's good, man. That's good. That's good. So, I guess kind of wrapping up, hopefully nobody out there was following Diddy, hopefully none of our viewers, I think that's pretty safe to say, but, even in-house, man, I mean, the Bible says judgment starts at the house of the Lord. Like, we got to keep it real sometimes about things that go on in the church. And I think that it's healthy that we just have a sober perspective, when it comes to stuff going on. Let me say this too, just as a piece of encouragement, like, for every crazy church scandal, there's hundreds of pastors out here who are just living quiet, peaceable lives doing the work of the Lord.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's never going to be breaking news that local pastor so-and-so who's got the storefront church and is serving faithfully, doing what God has called him to do, is continuing in the work of Christ.
That's boring. That's boring. That's never
that's boring. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody's ever going to hear about that, And so I would just encourage people to live that life, live that peaceable life, and follow after people who have that example, and don't get caught up in the outliers of folks who have fallen, and as a spectacle made out of it. You know what I'm saying? That's not the whole story of God's church. It's just not. You know what I mean? And so, and I would add this too. And I'm not trying to be wordy about it, but I think for people who try to leverage stories about, notable preachers who mess up to paint it as if it is the whole church, they're really being disingenuous. Like, that's just dishonest. It's not true. It's not true, and they should really check themselves, Any final thoughts, y'all?
I think that, we just all of us have a responsibility to do what the word says, and that is to run our race, to run our own race, and to run it with patience. But, all of us need to look unto Jesus, who's the author and finisher of our faith. And, for anyone who ran track or runs track, you understand the importance of running your own race, staying in your lane, and having your sights on the end, on the finish line. And so that's what we need to be and do as Christians.
Thanks. That's good.
Jeremiah 17, verse 7. Blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord, whose trust is the Lord. He is like a tree planted by water that sends out its roots by the stream and does not fear when heat comes, for its leaves remain green, and is not anxious in the year of drought, for it does not cease to bear fruit.
It's a good word, man. It's a good word. And not to add to the scriptures, but as we get out of here, I'm just going to encourage people to heed that word. And then also keep in mind, given what's going on with Diddy and apparently the police chief, stay out of New York, man. They wilding out there. You know, stay out of New York. You know, we'll see y'all next time. As we say all the time, love God, love people, take care of things that God blesses you with.